It's no longer really an opportunity or choice, it's an imperative. To telling the story, how do we make sure that we're taking full advantage of any and all assets that are on the grid and at customer premises.
Welcome everyone to the enx ei360 podcast. My name is Sandi and I'm here with David Swink. And David, this month we're talking about digital twins for the month of September. And here we are starting really with the end in mind in our Digital Operations Center.
Yeah, you're right, Sandy. When people come here to McKinney, where we have our live microgrid, they'll have the opportunity to actually see what we call our Digital Operations Center. Historically, this has been called a command center for a lot of utilities. We reference it as a Digital Operations Center, which I think is appropriate as we talk about digital twins, because really, when you think about today's command centers, as we think about digital twins, it really is all about data, and it's about having the ability to visualize data, and not only visualize data, to create actionable data. One of the things this command center, this digital operations center here represents at our facility is the ability to be a DERM, a distribution energy resource manager, a DMO, a distribution market operator, and so that's one of the things exciting about starting with the end in mind is we really all understand and know that data needs to be actionable data.
Absolutely. So we had a little fun last week. We created avatars for ourselves talking about digital twins, and we very lightly touched on the subject, and now we're really going to dive in deep. So in the energy space, how does someone get started building their digital twin?
Yeah, the digital twin really is about a data architecture, a reliable, secure data architecture. At NX, one of the things that we have invested in over really a decade has been to build that data architecture that allows us to really ingest data, relay data in a real-time way. We think there's really four key elements, Sandy, to that creating a digital twin or having a digital twin representation. And one is it means you have to be agnostic to both front of the meter and behind the meter. Basically, any and all assets. They'll hear us say often, the ability to see everything in one platform, generation to toaster. So that idea of being totally agnostic, not a point solution. Secondly, you have to have that ability to put that data in a graph model, in the next generation database architecture, as we would like to call it. It's more of a nodal architecture that allows us to create hyper relationships and algorithms, machine learning, and artificial intelligence that are really required with data today. Thirdly, we have to have the ability to do simulations and control schemes. If we do a good job of bringing that data together and creating that data model, that data fabric, then we really have that ability, thirdly, to do those simulations and those control schemes across the entire asset base. And then, of course, fourthly is really kind of the magic, and that's you have the ability to visualize the data and see it in a way in which the data begins to make sense and the data is able to be used. We talk about putting it for the right people, the right time, for the right purpose, and the right decision.
Absolutely. So that sounds a little bit like our approach in helping companies with this digital transformation, our CASE model. So CASE meaning connect, accelerate, scale, and empower. So can you tell our audience a little bit more about that in relation to how they can get started?
Well, there's a reason why you're right, Sandy. We kind of created that blueprint, if you will, because I think for all of us, and especially in the utility space, where we talk about things like integrated distribution resource planning, and those have been, really, you might say, business structures or studies or plans that we've done, blueprints that really allow a utility to bring those resources into their grid. But as we think about kind of the higher level overlay, that digital twin, in this case, the CASE model, it really is about, first of all, connecting any and all assets, which is the agnostic layer that I spoke about a moment ago, that component layer that is so important. The idea of accelerating really is, unless you have your data structured and have it in a database that can scale, that really isn't limited in any way, that is tied to time series databases, that is tied to this nodal architecture, it's going to be very difficult to accelerate and get to that next level of scale. So when we think about, scale, it really is then, hey, I have now the ability to do live simulations, live control schemes, doing algorithms on the edge. That really is the whole idea of scale. That's kind of where solutions really begin. And then, that whole empowerment capability is really starting to understand what it means to empower the consumer. We live in a time today where we really ought to be empowering consumers. We think about what Uber has done for the transportation industry, what Airbnb did for the real estate industry. I really think what you're seeing today in regards to these new, in this case, our energy platform, it really is beginning to Uberize assets and really begin to empower the consumer to be a prosumer. So it's really about empowerment for the utility to really become the DERM capability, the distribution energy resource manager, to empower the utility to be a virtual power plant. And our platform is built on those components, but I think as you said, Sandy, it's important for the utility to begin that journey by connecting, accelerating, scaling, and empowering.
Absolutely. Well, that's it for us today. Thank you so much for joining us, and tune in next week. We will continue this discussion.